Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to my sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Good evening. My name is Sarah Kelley. I've been the pastor of Faith, Open Love International Healing and Deliverance Center for almost 35 years. And I've been in the ministry for 40. I'm the wife of Robert C. Kelley Jr., in which we celebrated our 60th anniversary on May the 8th. We were blessed with a son and daughter, and the son is going to be on with the Lord. We have 3 grandsons, 12 great-grandchildren. Quite naturally, I cannot tell you my whole life story, so I shall share a portion. I was born in Charlottesville 78 years ago, and have lived here most of my life. From the age of 2, I was raised by my great-grandmother, whose parents had been slaves. Quite naturally, her upbringing caused her to have a slave mentality, which is passed down through our generation. She cooked 3 meals a day, 7 days a week for many years at Dolly Madison Inn in Charlottesville, which is no longer exists. Plus, she took in washing, ironing, which at that time was without a washing machine, but a tub and a scrubboard, and no electric iron. After observing her hard and unappreciated work, I promised myself I would never ever be subject to that abuse. My first memorable experience with injustice, one of many, was at the drinking fountain at Trailway bus station here in Charlottesville. I was 5 years old. My great-grandmother and I was headed to Atlantic City for a short summer vacation. At that particular time in my life, the water fountains were separated by race. As a child, I did not understand differences. I saw the sign over a small, filthy-looking water fountain that said, "Colored only," and a sign over a large, clean, luxurious water fountain that said, "White only." But as a child, I thought it meant the water was white and it was colored. Even though the colored people's fountain was dirty, I took a few sips of warm, almost hot water because I wanted to taste colored water. Afterwards, I stood on my tiptoes at the shiny, clean fountain and proceeded to drink the cool, tasty water. The next thing I knew, I was being yanked and spanked by my great-grandmother and being cursed and yelled at by the ticket agent, bellowing, "Get out of this bus station." Sadly, I did not know why my great-grand had spanked me, neither did I know why the ticket agent was so angry. I had innocently tried both water fountains because I wanted to taste and see the kind of water that was colored and the water that was white. Quite naturally, they tasted different, but they looked the same. It never changed colors. I did not know that, nor did I understand racism. While having to wait in the sun outside the bus station, my grandmother told me why she had spanked me. And I felt totally angry, as well as puzzled, to why I was not good enough to drink from the beautiful, clean fountain. I believe that is why I don't drink much water today. My bottle is still on the table. White or colored water. The one thing she made sure of, though, because she could not read or write, was that I would learn to read and write. She had me tutored at the age of 3. I started in the 1st grade at 5 years old and finished 12th grade at the age of 16. During the years of massive resistance here in Charlottesville, my granny sent me to live with my mother in Washington, D.C. because she did not want my education interrupted. Although I still ended up in an all-white school, the experience was milder than it was here in Charlottesville, Virginia. At the age of 18, my husband and I got married at our father-in-law's home, which was on Irving Street. Urban Street was where the urban renewal was enforced. He owned a beautiful 5-bedroom home in which he built, but it was torn down along with other black homes and businesses due to the supposedly urban renewal. It displaced many black people. I was so distressed about that, and especially about my father-in-law's injustice because he did not receive a fair price for his lovely home. It was my desire at the age of 18 to be a registered nurse, but UVA in the late 50s was not receiving blacks in the nursing program. They did open the door for black LPNs in a less appreciated position in the late 50s. I entered the UVA LPN program in the early 60s. Thanks be to God that at the beginning of this year, UVA recognized the black LPNs and made us alumni members. And UVA also recognized me as the first black American that completed the chaplaincy program there at UVA Hospital. In many situations, I've either been the first female, the first African American, or the first female and African American. The constant subtle mistreatment has been a catalyst for me. It has given me the determination to stand firm and endure hardness. I just have to mention that my heart is broken and continues to break for my husband, who from the early age wanted to be a fireman. He served in the Air Force as a fireman. But when he was discharged from the military with hopes of pursuing this career, his color kept him from being hired. Blacks were not being employed as firemen at that time. That rejection crushed him. But it made me even more determined to stand for justice and equality for all. I have vowed that the slave mentality that has been planted in my forefathers' mind was not going to rule my life. That mentality of discounting self and one another was one that also persuaded African American people not to trust one another, therefore pitting against one another. The remnants of that mentality still exist today, causing us as black people not to freely support and build up one another. It has also caused us at times to even hinder rather than help each other to progress. But I'm truly believing that that spirit has been bound, cursed, and cast out in Jesus' name. Quite naturally over the years, I have seen and experienced injustice at the public libraries, swimming pools, cemeteries, on buses, streetcars, trains, elevators, in the theaters, waiting areas, restrooms, schools, houses, and sadly, even churches. It has caused me to look at what is wrong and try to figure out what I can do to make it right. In Proverbs 31:9 of the Messenger Bible, it says, "Speak up for the people who have no voice, for the rights of all the downtrodden. Speak out for justice. Stand up for the poor and the destitute." And in 1 John 3:18, the English Standard Version, "Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth." God bless you.